Sir, shall we start, sir? Sir, shall we start? Sir?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Good
Yes, sir.
afternoon, sir.
Start,
He's
sir.
audible, sir.
Yeah.
Clear.
Good afternoon to everybody.
Just a minute, sir. Hope all of you are fine.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please,
Yes.
sir. Before
Moraji, how are you?
I'm very fine, sir. I'm very
fine,
fine,
sir.
sir.
Fine, sir.
Okay, Mr. Vedirajan.
Yes, sir. Sir, before you are going to present, I invite Dr. Moraji to welcome, sir. Welcome or introduce yourself.
Thank you, coordinator, sir. Dear participants, welcome back to the second session. Dear participants, today is a good day for me. I feel pride and privileged to introduce my own academic mentor, Dr. V. Balachandar, the resource person for this second technical session on societal and economic development of post-mergers in banks. Dear participants, my academic mentor, Professor V. Balachandran, is the present Dean, School of Business Studies, and Head in the Department of Management Studies, Central University of Kerala. Professor V. Balachandran, formerly the Dean and Professor, Faculty of Management, and he was the Director of Distance Education in Alagappa University, and Alagappa University was fortunate enough to utilize the services of Dr. V. Balachandran for more than 35 years. Dear participants, you will be surprised to know that Professor V. Balachandran is a fellow member of the Institute of ICSI, and he has authored 14 books with various publishers, namely Sultan Chands, Bharatla Book House, Tata McGraw-Hill, Prentice Hall, and Vijay Nicholas. And for your information, our sir has guided more than 29 PhD scholars and guided more than 155 MPhil scholars. Beyond the research, he has published 340 articles. Our Professor V. Balachandran has occupied distinctive positions in Alagappa University, and he is also a recipient of many awards. To quote a few, he has achieved Rashtriya Vidya Saraswati Puraskar Award by International Institute of Education and Management, Lifetime Achievement Award by Indian Economic Research Development Association, New Delhi, and Certificate of Award for 25 years of unblessed service in Alagappa University. Really, sir, we are fortunate to listen to you. So on behalf of the participants, on behalf of the Department of Corporate Secretaryship, I extend a hearty welcome to you, sir. I welcome all the participants also for this session. Dear participants, our Professor V. Balachandran is going to talk on the topic societal and economic development of post-merger in banks. Well, in the morning, in the introductory remarks, I said, corporate form of organization is the gift of British legacy. But for your information, the British gained their own momentum by acquiring all the assets, whereas Indians are known for the philanthropy activities. Now, due to the mergers, what is going to be the impact, societal and economic development in post-merger banks? So, Professor V. Balachandran is here to talk on the societal and economic developments. Sir, may I request you to take over the session? Thank you for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Morarji. I am extremely happy that our Department of Corporate Secretaryship, Alagappa University, is organizing AICTE Atal Online MBA program on corporate restructuring of public sector banks, present scenario from 26th to 30th of July. In fact, I congratulate Professor C. Vejrajan, Professor Moraji, Professor R. Mugam, Professor Ganesamurthy, Professor Vaidraj for organizing this prestigious FDB program. Dear Coordinator, Mr. Vejrajan, members of faculty from our department, sister departments, from commerce, other management departments, and dear participants. In fact, I had a very good network till 11:45. Now, actually, I am talking from mobile. There is some disruption. Kindly bear with me. I may request Mr. Ganesamurthy to present Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good, sir.
Yeah, can you present?
Okay, sir. No issue.
Okay, I can talk, no issue.
Okay.
Hello.
Sir, is audible, sir. Clear.
Okay, let me go through it. And I requested the coordinator to present it on behalf of yesterday. He was telling to me like this. Anyhow, can I can proceed? I have already sent the slides to the coordinator. Anyhow, I will just, because in order to save the time, let me go through, and the slides also will be sent to every one of the participants. Okay? Hello?
Sir, now it's sharing PPT, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay. Good. Thank you. See, the topic chosen by the department is really fine and fantastic. The corporate structuring is the need of the hour. And not only in India, but throughout the world, in one form or other, the corporate restructuring is taking place. When you just check the Companies Act, the definition of merger, Actually, 1956 Companies Act has not defined what is called the merger. Also, Income Tax Act also has not defined what is called the merger. But 2013 Companies Act has given some explanation, though they are defined the merger, but they have given some explanation that explain the concept. Accordingly, according to the Companies Act 2013, the explanation given by the Companies Act is the merger is a combination of two or more entities into one. The differing effect being not just the accumulation of assets and liabilities of distinct entities, organization of such entity into one business. It means that two or more entities, they join together. It is not for the accumulation of assets and liabilities of the two entities, but the purpose is different from just the accumulation of assets and liabilities. But there will be one result, there will be one entity, which will become a strong entity. As you know, my dear friends, the merger is a corporate strategy of combining different banks into a single bank in order to enhance the financial and operational strength of both organizations. Corporate restructuring has as you know, you have got various forms: merger, amalgamations, absorption, financial restructuring, organizational restructuring. But of all these restructuring, or this merger and amalgamation, are the most popular forms of corporate structuring. And in banks, we may know that some may think that actually it's a very recent phenomenon, but it's not so. Even say 3 decades back, it has started one form or other. I will just explain one by one. By way of merger, banks can diversify their service and attain a quick growth with expanded market access. The merger is expected to increase the efficiency of performance and value of the companies when they are combined. That is actually how the Companies Act 2013 explained the concept of merger. Just as I informed you, bank merger is not a new one for India. Since 1992, the RBI and the government initiated several reforms to strengthen the banking system. Most of you know about the Narasimhan Committee. They have got 2 committees, Committee 1 and Committee 2. Narasimhan Committee actually has introduced a lot of reforms on account of the LPG concept, liberalization, privatization, and globalization. As you know very well, this LPG concept has brought about significant changes in the corporate sector, not only in India but across the world. In fact, we have to thank the then Prime Minister and the then government for the bold step they have taken in introducing the LPG concept. And because of that, not only the Indian companies, but also most of the companies in foreign companies also, they have started strengthening their values, like the market values, not the generally asset value, but also the market value as such. Now, in the first report in 1991, which is because of Narasimhan Committee, they recommended measures to restructure the Indian banking system. The committee recommended that the number of public sector banks should be reduced through mergers and amalgamations. Even those times, they said that as a vision, it is time then the banks can become stronger because of the liberalization and globalization. You may think so. For example, within India, a company, you can take for example, say L&T. They are actually having market share of 2/3 or 1/3. But when you take into account the competition in the whole world, you will find, compared to the very reputed MNCs, you will find that Indian companies, they are having less market share. because the world at large has got large market share, and this LPG has helped most of the Indian companies also to expand because of this merger and amalgamation. Now, not only in India, but across the world, the Indian companies are able to expand their operations, and they will become stronger and stronger. So this idea was mooted even in 1991 when the LPG concept was introduced. The committee recommended the merger of strong banks in public and private sector between themselves, and in some cases, even with the development financial institutions and non-banking institutions. So the committee recommended even those days, there is a proposal we can go for. When you go recommendation means it is for the government to accept the proposal. As you know, who is the authority? Who is the authority with regard to the merger of the say PS public sector banks means it is the Union Cabinet that is the authority to approve the merger of banks, because it has got more share. As you know, it has got more than 15% of the share capital. So the Union Cabinet is the appropriate authority to approve the merger of banks. It decides the merger of banks and what proportions, what are the various steps, what are various stages, and how to go about further. All these things are done only by the Union Cabinet. Of course, RBI regulates the public sector banks in India, no doubt about it. Under Section 21 of the Banking Regulation Act, Reserve Bank of India is given the power or empowered to regulate public sector banks function in India. So the committee recommended the following important recommendations. There should be 3 to 4 large banks of global character. Now the time has come, we have to compete globally. He said even those days, 30 years back he told, when you go for the global competition, necessarily with small sized banks, we may not be able to compete effectively with the larger banks at the global level. So even in those days, 30 years back, they said it is justifiable, rather recommendable, to have 3 to 4 large banks of global character. 8 to 10 banks of national character in the country engaged in universal banking. Some local area banks where area of operation is confined to some specific region. They also suggested some rural banks, including regional rural banks, RRBs, whose main function would be to finance the credit requirements of agriculture and allied activities in rural areas. So, Narasimham Committee 1 already has made a vision of this opening of mergers with regard to the banks in order to strengthen themselves to meet the world competition. The Narasimham Committee 2 in 1998, actually the second report of the committee was placed before the chairman on banking sector on mainly on structural issues with recommendations. They have recommended that merger between banks and domestic financial institutions and non-banking financial institutions need to be based on the synergies and local business specific complementaries of the concerned institutions and must obviously make sound commercial sense. It means that there can be a merger between banks and domestic financial institutions, including PFCs. But there to be, you have to take proper care and caution with regard to the synergies and the local and business specific complementaries. So those things, locational aspect is very important, and business specific objectives very important, and depending upon them, you have to ensure how the synergies are being tailored and implemented. The merger of public sector banks must emanate from arrangements from management of the banks with the government as the common stakeholder playing a supportive role. Now, there are many mention about the PSB, public sector banks. They must emanate from managements of the banks. That means two banks they join together. As you know, the Canara Bank and the Syndicate Bank, the top managements they have to come with a proposal. Emanate from the managements of the bank with the government. The government will listen to the proposals as the common stakeholder because the government is having maximum share capital. They are the major shareholder. So the management of the respective banks, they have to come with the proposal and place before the government for discussion. It will be necessary to evolve policies aimed at right sizing and redeployment of surplus staff, either by way of retaining them and giving them appropriate alternative employment, or by introducing a VRS scheme with appropriate incentives. See, what the problem presently we are facing, the same was explained by the Darshan Committee, say 22 years back. See, when you go for this type of mergers of banks, there will be problems of surplus staff and there will be problems of different cultural background people having different type of behavior, working in different locations. They may meet with a lot of sufferings and hardships. So what they said, it will be necessary, even those things they made in the proposal itself, to evolve policies aimed at right sizing and redeployment of surplus staff, either by way of retaining them and giving them appropriate alternative employment, or by introducing VRS scheme. Either they accept VRS scheme with appropriate incentives, or they can be given alternative employment also. Because as you know, when the banks merge, some posts will be automatically be taken out. Normally there will be two different chairman, managing directors, different directors of every bank, as you know, in management. When they merge, then some directors will go out. Okay. Then at the top level, this is the case. They think about at the lower level, at the middle level, the position with regard to the retaining of the labor force. So he advocated, suggested, some people may offer VRS, some people they would be like willing to work in some say locations also, or alternative employment you may provide, because they want to be retained. At the younger age, they want to be retained. After 50, you may ask VRS scheme. Like that, actually, they said policies must be framed with regard to the right sizing and redeployment of surplus staff. Then, the same merger phenomena was discussed in the Joint Parliamentary Committee on Bank Mergers. You know, JPC is the highest authority. And whenever serious problems come in, only the JPC is the authority to discuss and they will give their recommendations. Now, again, as you know, you need just to go back to, say, 12 years back. When examining the issues relating to the above developments, the Joint Parliamentary Committee on Stock Market Scams and Matters relating thereto has made the following observations and recommendations in para 10.87 of the report on the role of the RBI regarding bank mergers. Bank merger is a recent phenomenon in our country. They told at that time, that is in 2008. And before the merger, the sanction of RBI is required, as stipulated in Section 44A of the Banking Regulation Act. No merger is allowed unless the scheme of merger draft has been placed before the shareholders of the banking companies and approved by a resolution passed by the majority representing 2/3 value of the shareholders. So in JPC itself, they have given some recommendations. They made observations, then they gave recommendations. No merger is allowed unless the scheme of merger draft has been placed before the shareholders of the company. And then it is approved by a resolution passed by the majority person, 2/3 this special resolution of the value of the shareholders. Now, what actually they have given recommendations after the observations? Laying down the guidelines to process a merger proposal in terms of the abilities of the investment bankers. So, you must lay down the guidelines to process a merger. How to go about further? What are the key parameters you have to identify that form a basis for determining these swap ratios? See, the top management of banks, they must identify parameters. On what basis? Because the problems, there are various problems, especially financial problems are unlimited. Valuation of the share, market value of the share, sentiments of the stakeholders, creditors, employees, government, shareholders, debenture holders. So they said you must identify some common parameters that form a basis for determining these swap ratios. Disclosures, distinct disclosures. It must be transparent. It must be discussed openly. The stage at which the board will get involved in order to have meaningful board level deliberations. So the board will get involved when the board should decide and what are the meaningful deliberations, everything we must lay down. Then lastly they said, they have laid down norms for the promoter buying or selling shares directly, indirectly, during, before or after discussion period. So these are some of the guidelines, and the first two guidelines, I can say 1, 2, 3, 4 are very important. We have to give guidelines of how to process a merger proposal. They must identify the key parameters that is very, very important because they have a lot of bearing on impact on the capital market, stock market, Indian economy, not only Indian economy but at world level, because our shares are being now listed not only in India but in foreign exchange also. New York Stock Exchange, Luxembourg Stock Exchange, Tokyo Stock Exchange. So there will be an impact of the share prices in the foreign countries also, foreign stock exchange also. The NRI have invested money, so they will be following us very, very closely. They will follow the process very carefully. They will be more alert because they have invested a heavy amount. We actually invest, say, if I as a small shareholder, to basic 20,000, 50,000, 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, but they invest in crores of rupees. So they would like to ensure that their share value will not be much affected. And disclosure, as you know, transparency is very, very important. The stage at which the board will get involved, at what time, when they have to meet, how many meetings they have to make, in every meeting, what should be discussed, deliberations. So they have to give you a timeline because there must be a timeline by which you have to complete the process. Then I'm just taking to Verma Committee report on bank mergers. This is also very important, and in fact they have given the some of the parameters. In February 1999, the RBI appointed a working group on restructuring of weak public sector banks under the chairmanship of Shri M.S. Verma. The purpose was to identify weak public sector banks and to suggest a scheme for the restructuring and strengthening of these banks. The purpose is very, very clear. Even in, say, 22 years back, they said identify weak PSB and suggest schemes, proposal for the restructuring and strengthening of weak banks. Because there are many depositors, there are many people who have taken loans, many people who have purchased company shares. So everybody will be affected. The entire stakeholding community will be affected one way or other. So you must ensure scheme for restructuring and strengthening of weak banks. For identifying weak banks, the committee developed important parameters, which the JPC actually later also has stressed, which are essential for a financially strong bank. Now, what are the parameters? They suggested 7 parameters to identify weak banks recommended by the group, working group, and they placed before the government. The Burma committee prepared, they studied the situations, and after a study, they have presented before the government 7 parameters, many recommendations, and I have taken the 7 recommendations, what they have suggested. Capital adequacy ratio, interest coverage ratio, return on assets, net interest margin, ratio of operating profits to average working funds, ratio of cost to income, ratio of staff cost to net interest plus all other incomes. So these are the 7 ratios suggested by the committee and placed before the government as some of the strong parameters to identify weak banks. Now, on the basis of the above parameters, public sector banks were classified into 3 categories. See, when actually they discussed about the parameters and introduced made transparent to all newspapers and press and various fora, the banks, they classified into 3 categories. The banks which meet all the above parameters, the banks which meet none of the parameters, the banks in which some of the parameters were present. So it is very obvious, some banks will meet all parameters. Now they have given the parameters. We have to apply whether our bank is able to satisfy the parameters. You take one by one all the 7 parameters and check whether our bank is able to satisfy it. So some banks, they said they meet all the above 7 parameters. Some banks are weak banks. They say we are not able to meet even a single parameter. And some banks, they say some parameters we are able to meet. So there are 3 categories: satisfying all the parameters, satisfying none of the parameters, and satisfying some of the parameters. Likewise, these 7 parameters, actually they have given, I can say, an eye opener, and the banks started applying ratios, whether they are up to the standard, whether they are very weak bank, a weak bank, or a somewhat strong bank, or okay, satisfactory level. That's what actually the banks, they made an experiment also, and on the above parameters, there was the classification of ASB. Now, in August 2019, our finance minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, has announced to merge 10 public sector banks into 4 entities. So at that time, there was hue and cry. Every time, whenever there is a merger of banks, there will be hue and cry. People will be discussing both for and against. People will criticize the government. There will be arguments in favor of the merger. There will be arguments against the merger proposal. So many things. This is the normalcy, and normally is being done. It's being followed in almost whenever a bank gets merged with another bank. The basic logic behind this merger is to increase the global competitiveness. As you know, we discussed about the National Committee. They also mentioned about the global competition. That is one of the main objectives. The total public sector banks reduced to 12 from 27 in 2017. We have 27 banks, and from that it reduced to 12 banks now because of the merger. So there will be 4 anchor banks. So there are 10 banks, and 4 anchor banks are there. And we'll go through only one. Merger banks in the banking industry. Why I'm telling, this is not the first time the banks have gone for merger. Even in 2004, Oriental Bank of Commerce, OBC, with the Global First Bank. Already there was a merger. State Bank of India and State Bank of Saurashtra in 2008. State Bank merger with Associate Bank and Bharatiya Mahila Bank 2007. So there were precedents. When actually, see, Global First Bank actually was very much enjoyed the common public acceptance in those days. I remember becoming a depositor in the GTB itself, they will say it's a Global First Bank. It's a very good bank. It's a foreign-based bank with all types of ideals and principles, with a lot of ambitions, aspirations, a lot of vision and mission. So, Global Trust Bank, as you know, global trust. So they introduced this word trust. They also told, please trust us, trust our bank, not only at Indian level but also at global level. So, but even that bank got merged in 2004. There was a hue and cry, so many issues, so many problems because it was not experienced earlier, you know. The share price has come down very low. Many investors, they lost money. There were so many arguments against the government that they have taken a wrong decision, right decision. But it was inevitable, it was done. Then in 2008, after 4 years, State Bank of India and State Bank of Saurashtra, they got merged. Even at that time also, there were, say, arguments in favor, arguments against the merger of the banks. This normally will happen. And SBI merger with the associate banks and Bharatiya Mahila Bank in 2017. This, 4 years back. Bharatiya Mahila Bank was introduced, it was only completely run by women. Mahila means, women. Bharatiya Mahila Bank was actually started with more, festives and with more promises. They said throughout India it will have branches only, completely women only will manage from the top level to the lower level. All officers, all the clerks will be only women like that. And they started doing, and they wanted to give employment to the women folk. So in that way, on that lines, Bharatiya Mahila Bank was started, and it got merged 2017. So bank mergers is not new to India. From 2004 onwards, even before that, Bharatiya, I think I remember, AOB merged with Bharatiya Overseas Bank, DOB with IOB in 1990s and 95. So there are instances, there are many precedents with regard to the mergers in banking industry. As you know, the 10 public sector banks, what is the effect of merger on banks? What was expected? Punjab National Bank is the anchor bank, merged with the Oriental Bank of Commerce, United Bank. Now it becomes second largest PSB with 17.94 lakh crore businesses with 11,437 branches. Then next one is Canara Bank is the anchor bank. Single bank merged with Canara Bank. The fourth largest public sector bank with 15.2 lakh crore business, having 10,391 branches, 12,829 ATMs, and 91,685 employees. See, and let me complete, then I will discuss. Union Bank of India, Union Bank is the anchor bank. The Corporation Bank and Andhra Bank, they got merged with that and becomes fifth largest PSB with a business of 14.6 lakh crore. And Allahabad Bank merged with the Indian Bank. Indian Bank is the anchor bank. Seventh largest PSB with 8.08 lakh crore business, 6,060 branches, 2,870 ATMs, and 9,000 employees. See, from this particular table, we come to understand that after the merger, what is the size of the business, volumes of business, and the number of bank branches. It increased the ATMs, of course. This is what they say, when two banks merge, will become a strong bank. This strong bank now with increased the capital, with increased human resource and branches and ATMs, they are able to compete effectively, not only with other banks, but also they can open banks in foreign countries also. They can compete even within India with other global banks. Post merger of banks. Impact on economy. Now, as you know, the topic given to me is the societal and economic development of banks in post mergers. In fact, I had divided into say 3 parts my talk. One is, what is the merger of banks scenario earlier and post merger banks later. That's why I just discussed with you the various committees: National Committee 1, National Committee 2, MS Narma Committee, JPC, Joint Parliament Committee. All these, they talked about merger of banks, and they asked the banks top management level to be very cautious. And they also suggested to identify the parameters and check whether they are able to satisfy the parameters. Because there are many implications and repercussions when banks merge. There are advantages, there are disadvantages. Let us see how the merger of banks have benefited the economy. Also the other side also. Then we conclude, we justify how the government have justified the post merger of banks. In what way the banks contribute to the economy. See, advantages of merger resulting in economic development. Business gaps get filled due to deregulation, synergy, expansion of operation. They enlarge the customer base, deal with the NPA. You know, NPA, non-performing assets, has become one of the very, very serious issue. Though the RBI has given directions, guidelines with regard to monitoring and checking of NPAs, still in some of the banks, even I can say, I remember State Bank of India also, including State Bank of India, the NPAs exceeded more than 10,000 crores. See, NPAs, but when compared to the private banks, the NPAs definitely more in the case of public sector banks. So you will take into other private sector banks, the competing banks. You will see that there may be KVB or COB or HDFC Bank. You just see their NPAs, they're able to monitor. They are not given very big amount, very big loans to the business leaders. See, whenever the people they come, they also come with recommendation from the government also. They will say no. They have got the guts to do it. But in the case of PSB, it's not possible. That's what some of the experts they say. Private banks, they are very cautious about their investment. Investment as well as return on investment. Their reputation. But the same cannot be expected from the public sector banks. Of course, there is expansion is there is diversification is there. The purpose is optimum economic benefit. All these things are right, but private banks are more cautious with regard to the NPAs. And NPAs are the serious causes for banks becoming a failure. There are various articles, research topics, research thesis. I also seen some of the thesis also. I also evaluated some of the thesis on NPAs. The NPA is one of the very, very important and serious issue, especially prevailing in the public sector banks. Though they give no more norms, but yet the banks, they are unable to check. There are many defaults. There are many, say, sometimes now write-off loans. So writing off loans and NPAs, they add fuel to the fire, causing the banks become big banks, say medium banks, medium strong banks become big banks. See, but what is expected is there will be more efficiency due to more scale of operations. That's true. I will explain how it is. Compliance and risk consistency. Investment asset related risk will be low. They're able to capture more market share and its indicator of strength. They can manage their liquidity easily compared to earlier size. The revenue will increase as well as the cost reduction may result in substantial savings in crores. See, there are some posts which are common to both banks. So when banks merge, you have only one managing director, there will be only chairman. There are only very few directors. So automatically at the top level, there will be reduction in the post itself. Duplication of posts will be eradicated. And when the scale of operations go up, definitely there will be reduction in cost. The cost reduction by reduction of overheads, there will be, say, there is no need for them to go for it, some more ATM or some more branches, because already they have got sufficient. Unless there is necessity, they won't open ATM or they won't open branches. So in that way, it may result in substantial savings. But you cannot ask anyone to use what is the impact within 6 months or in 1 year. The result will come not in a month, but after a year, when the balance sheet is placed before the authorities concerned and published, they may understand what is how much cost reduction was possible and how much the bank actually saved because of the merger. It helps to improve professional standards. That is true. When two banks or 2 or 3 banks they join together, you'll have definitely the banks will try to, the government will try to employ qualified professionals on the board, and only when the board is competent, only when the board is diverse, only when the board directors inducted have a lot of experience and exposure in banking field, both within India, outside India, they are able to compete with the global banks. So there will be a care and caution that will be taken by the government when they are going to appoint directors on the board or managing director or chairman. Normally, they choose people who are having a lot of professional experience. In that way, the board will get strengthened. In fact, in the corporate management scenario, if you take into account the number of failures of the companies, the main problem is the composition of the board of directors. Earlier, they used to induct their own kith and kin, relations, friends on the board. Those who are known to them, politically recommended people. But now the time is changed. Now, unless the board is having composition with the professionals, maybe chartered accountant, maybe a cost accountant, maybe an engineer, maybe a banking professional having 20 years of experience, a leading lawyer, expert in project management, like that. They induct people like that so that in the long run it will give benefits. But it moves towards the corporate governance. That means it moves towards the corporate governance. It provides better efficiency ratio for business operations as well as banking operations, which is beneficial for the economy. No doubt about it. Multiple posts get abolished. Just I told you. Multiple posts get abolished, resulting in substantial financial savings. This is true. And without doing business, these savings help the banks. Yes, to strengthen the financial position of the bank. PSBs had a large customer base even before merger of the bank took place for the last few years. But the expansion in that base helps justify the cost less. As you know, today we are in the e-era or digital era. In the digital era, there is initial investment is very much expensive. In the long run, it is going to give us more benefits. But initially, we have to go for a lot of investment. So with a strong customer base, banks are able to expand the cost, digital mode of working and try to bring the cost. The fixed cost of digitization can be spread over and even large number of customers, thus bringing down per unit cost. So we have studied what are the economies of scale. When you actually go for a more and more number of operations, when you expand business, the cost per unit will come down. That is the analogy actually. In March, SBA floated a request for proposal for redesigning its operating model and implementing new strategies with the use of digital tools in its micro, small, and medium enterprises. So this is possible only expand the business. Now we can have more number of divisions, sections like MSME, so that the banks are able to meet the expectations of the various stakeholders. Now, MSME is becoming one of the very important area for the new entrepreneurs. And the OPC, 1% company, helps a lot. Because as an entrepreneur, he is a member, he is a director, he can start a company, he gets a lot of advantages and benefits under the Companies Act 2013. And new entrepreneurs are being encouraged to go in for MSME because there is actually MSME department is there in central government, as well as every state government also has an MSME department. And the main purpose is how they are able to help the young entrepreneurs who are having innovative mind. That is very important. innovative mind. There are, there are large number of graduates and postgraduates with a lot of innovative ideas. So in order to make use of their innovative ideas, new processes, innovative cell actually has been introduced in the central government. And every year central government gives awards for the best innovative idea and how they have nurtured the idea into a small firm or company or organization, business organization, how they're able to succeed in the long run, how they're able to promote a product, how the product is accepted by the society. So it is possible only when you expand the business. With a small bank, this cannot be done. Done. PNB, another say second largest bank, is looking to develop an end-to-end system for ATM reconciliation and redressal of customer complaints. Union Bank of India wants to smoothen out the entire recovery function with a software-based solution that will automate the workflow for recovery procedures. So the recovery procedure is, very, very important. In fact, I know some of the DGM level, they are recovery officers. So there is a separate department, loan recovery cell. Our department is there. But when you go on collect, when you go on start, when you are giving the notice reminder, they will not respect at all. You also agree with me that most of the notices of reminders of the banks were not taken seriously by the people who have taken loan, and they try to either they want to postpone the payment or they don't want to make the payment. As you know, the people who have taken loan, they have got money, but they are not willing to pay. But there are some people who had money earlier, they lost money because of business. They want to pay to the bank, but they don't have money. One is having money, they don't want to pay to the bank. Another segment, earlier they were well off, now they have no money, but they don't want to cheat the bank because they don't get money, they are unable to pay. So anyhow, the NPA remains the same. The NPA remains the same. It is increasing every year. After these mergers, the lending capacity, so let's conclude. The Union Bank of India also wants to smoothen out the entire recovery function with a software-based solution. So they are making the software in order to ensure that the loan is given to the right person with the proper security, and loan recovery also will be possible in an easier manner, so that ultimately the banks are able to recover the amount. If not 100%, at least 80%. If not full interest, at least the principal amount. After these mergers, the lending capacity of the public sector banks will increase, and their balance sheet would also be strong. So this is now very explicit. The lending capacity of banks necessarily will increase because of merger. They have got more money. They can give to more people. That's why some of the experts, they say, even RBI has also recommended, please don't give one big amount to one particular individual. You try to split, as in the portfolio management, reducing the reduction of risk. You take 1 crore, you give it to 10 people, you give it to 20 people. But don't give 20 crores, 30 crores, 100 crores, 200 crores to one person. So if you give to one person, means one particular company. Suppose the company, say, is liquidated or facing liquidation, then the entire amount will be a problem. There will be heavy loss. That's why many banks have become weak. So try to spread the risk by giving small amount of loans to various members so that even out of 100 people, 80 people they pay, okay. That's what the mindset of the present banking managers who are willing to pay a reasonable amount depending upon the project we are having instead of heavy amount. Normally, if you take private sector banks, to my knowledge, they don't give in 100 crores, 200 crores, 300 crores. They are not giving. They don't want to take risk. Though presently the companies are very good. After 5 years, we do not know what would be the fate of those companies. Only those companies who are able to guide their shareholders in a very, very professional manner, with a strong professional base and strong fundamental base, they are able to meet the uncontrollable factors. That is very important. Controllable factors, they are within the control, but there are some uncontrollable factors which is beyond their control. You need people to manage. That's why you'll find today, Dabur is more than 100 years old, still people have got confidence. Reliance, L&T, Suraj Jumal, Tata companies. People have got confidence, trust, because they have met so many misfortunes as we meet in our daily life. There are fortune, misfortune. So they managed well. There are change of managing directors, change of shareholders. But the company goes on. That is the perpetuity feature of the company. The company is always going. When may come, when may go, company goes on forever. Unless it is properly wound up officially, the name is written off, the company has life. The company, even atom bomb cannot destroy a company life. So, the public sector banks, in the long run, they are able to increase their profits and their balance sheet, which prove that company has been becoming strong. After these mergers, these big banks would also be able to compete globally and increase their operational efficiency, reducing their cost of lending. When you are increasing their operational efficiency, definitely you can reduce the cost of lending, no doubt about it. India needs investment in huge quantities to turn India into a 5 trillion economy. That is the wish of the finance minister, the government of India, to turn India into a 5 trillion economy. If banks have sufficient money to fund the big projects, then the economic development would speed up. Of course, before lending, the project proposal must be properly scrutinized. There should not be any nepotism or favoritism or any type of corruption. Genuine projects with genuine estimates, with genuine persons, definitely will contribute to Indian economic development. And banks definitely will give the amount of loan due to them. The merger would help better management of banking capital. This is the result of the governance. When they are able to manage effectively, reduce the risk, and able to guide the various stakeholders in a professional manner, these benefits will accrue automatically. So, post-merger banks, impact on society negative side. Merger will result in shifting or closure of many ATMs and branches. There is a criticism that merger results in closure of many ATMs and branches. they will, when they become, say, the particular committees, who are in the evaluation, they will ensure that whether it is profitable or not. If the branch is not profitable, then they will think about the closing of branches. So the customers will be subject to hardship because it's very near to their, say, residence. They have opened the branches. But if it is far off, means they will be subject to hardship. That's true. Banks will be compelled to offer another round of BRS. The head office of the banks after the merger will be situated at a very far off place. That is very true. The head office of various banks, one bank actually, for example, it is in Chennai, another bank is actually in Madhya Pradesh, PNB. See, every bank, anchor bank has got its head office in various banks. They have got head office, then circle office, then regional office. They are having different places. But once merged, they will decide, and the employees may feel it is far off. NPA plus low performance is equal to merger. There is a criticism that when banks merge, say they want to cover the NPA because they are low performing, and there are a lot of NPA in this merger. That's what some people criticize merger. They raise price of products or services. The merger results in reduced competition and a larger market share. This is also true. When you've got a lot of competitors, when you've got 27 banks, they compete, the prices will be somewhat stable and reasonable. But when you reduce 27 to 12, and further also there will be less banks, and as they say companies, they may go for cartel and they will say, we have to follow only this type of say charges. So this is also possible. This is also a criticism is also genuine. It creates gaps in communication. The companies that have agreed to merge may have different cultures. This is very true. They have got different culture. They have got different background. They have got a different work style. I can say work culture. For example, in some of the states, their work culture is different. They work to time. They won't work even. So for example, they come to office by 10 o'clock, they'll go by 5 o'clock. They even sit more than, say, 5 minutes over 5 o'clock. That's work culture. So the states actually they are, what states actually I am referring to, they are not, they are very much time conscious, not work conscious. The different cultures may become a problem to society sometimes, unless it will take some time. It will take some time. Creates unemployment. Say, I told you, whenever there is a merger, definitely they will go for the selection and they try to reduce the human resource. They try to give alternative employment. Suppose they are unable to give to the level actually they worked, then BRS is only the final remedy for them. So it is also true in several cases. Prevents economies of scale. This is given just as a criticism, but when banks expand, diversify more, there is definitely you have to accept the large scale economies only. Just for sake of criticism, we can say, you can discuss the merits and demerits for everything. Economies of scale merits, economies of scale demerits. Economies of, say, big companies, diseconomies of big companies. Economies of government departments, diseconomies of government departments. We can discuss both for and against them. But ultimately we have to decide which is beneficial, better than that. This I am giving as a notable observation by press. On average, we find that mergers don't have a discernible effect on productivity and efficiency. Press is always very, very a critic normally. They are not afraid of anybody. So we are given less than freedom. So they say the past results, they show that past mergers, though we talk about so much of advantages and demerits, so many things are contributions, but they said it is not deserved means very good in productivity. Maybe true to some extent, but not. It can't be say 50% or 40%. It is negligible. I can say 10%, 15% increase. The increase is not substantial. That is the meaning. Second, by contrast, we find substantial average increases in the amount that firms mark up prices. They mark up prices over cost flowing a merger ranging from 15 to 50% depending upon the control group we use. This is also another observation by the press. We may say that the prices will come down, charge will come down, but some of the banks, they try to make this opportunity to enhance the prices. Initially, citing this as a reason, but in due course, they may reduce. But they say this is inevitable. Some banks do charge higher amount in view of the, say, because of the merger, there is more cost. They may say some reasons, and they may come about. They try to justify the reason, but may not be so like that. The uncertainty resulting from a merger or acquisition can increase stress levels and signal risk to target company employees. So, definitely, this also we have to accept. To what extent the mergers are able to contribute effectively and productively, they work with more stress because they will say that already we have merged, we have to show performance, we have to show increased performance. So there will be pressure from the top officials to work more, to show more progress, and there will be a stress, increasing stress. Earlier they work without stress, but now they are work with the stress. As in the case of private companies, they will say we have to necessarily show that we have done definitely well. We have to show productivity. We have to show more profits this year. Like that, there will be stress. Result in job losses for employees in redundant areas in the combined company. That is actually there is in the case of wherever they are having in say in villages, suburban areas, they got more and more branches. When they go for merger, this fact is also a correct one. Then lack of proper information on services and procedures causing confusion. See, they may announce, they may start implementing it, but the common person, the common, say, means customer of the bank, he may not know what is right, what is going on. He may not be able to follow on daily basis because when merger takes place, there will be more discussions, more deliberations, and more decisions. And customers may not be able to get a clear-cut and definite information. And they will say, majority will say, we are not able to get clarity what to do, how long our checkbooks will be valid. Say, I have taken loan at the bank. I'm going to close my account. Okay, but there are some guidance from the new bank what to do. My FD gets matured now. At that time, it was actually 6.9%. But when you go for merger, as per the new bank, they will insist on their interest rate. So customers definitely will be subject to hardship, no doubt about it. So they talk about the absence of clarity of information. Andhra Bank and Corporation Bank are merging with the Union Bank of India. Union Bank recently announced that if the IT integration is complete without changing the account numbers, but IFSC codes have been changed. you don't necessarily note all these new changes when you go for making payment. Normally, under normal circumstances, I know even many one of my friends, they use Google Pay. They make Google Pay payment as well as even through bank transfers they make payment based upon IFSC code. When frequent changes occur, there is difficulty. The old IFSC codes will not be valid from April 1. The bank said and instructed customers to get new checkbooks with the updated IFSC and the MICR codes. See, today, whenever you go to the bank is always crowded, always crowded. So if people they say, yes, I am losing at least half a day, I'm unable to take half a day holiday. Because there is pressure in office also. Saturday, there will be heavy crowd, especially in state banks. There will be heavy crowd because they have more government transactions, and those employees also get fed up with the more number of crowd. They are not answering, say, very courteously. They are fed up with the more work. So these are the sufferings. The website of Canara Bank revealed that the existing account will not change, and already issued checkbooks and unissued checkbook sleeves can continue till further communication. How long, we do not know. They have fixed the date. The present checkbooks or unused checks will be valid up to, for example, October, November, or December. Like that, the customer wants definiteness. So, see, they say there is a lack of clarity in the instructions. Weaker banks might affect the regular routine working. The varied work culture might act as a hindrance to the success of the project, staff integration, to meet the different expectations of task forces, resistance of employees, union and their fears of losing jobs, relocation issues because of enlarged structures. So this is also true. We got to accept it. Weaker banks definitely will get affected because of routine working. I told you the work culture is different, the staff integration, the different culture, there will be resistance from employees, from unions, the relocation of issues, all these definitely are hardships. Actually, they have been given by the press. Because press is very, very specific, and they do not fear about anybody. They interview some people, they immediately give a press release. Now, towards economic development, multiple posts get abolished, resulting in substantial financial savings, banking mergers, improve risk management. This is true, when banks merger, they improve risk management, the risk becomes low. And they will be very cautious in lending further. The merger helps the geographically concentrated regionally present banks to expand their coverage. They are able to expand the business and diversify operations. They can go in for more and more digitization. They try to give more innovative products. They try to give new services. After these measures, the lending capacity of the public sector banks will increase, and the balance sheet will also be strong. These big banks will also be able to compete globally and increase their operational efficiency by reducing their cost of lending. So, this is also possible. Towards economic development, India needs investment in huge quantities and turn India into a $5 trillion economy. A merger is helpful in enhancing performance by offsetting weaknesses of the bank. As witnessed in several banks examples, bank mergers also result in increased use of technological tools. Disadvantages: acquiring banks have to bear the burden of weaker banks. Necessarily, we have to accept the weaker banks' burden. Very challenging to manage the people and culture of different banks. Also, destroy the idea of decentralization, as many banks have regional audience to cater. Large banks are more vulnerable to global economic crisis. Sometimes, even large banks, they may have lot of challenges unless they work hard, unless they do professionally manage the business. Again, they are subject to economic crisis. Mergers may make it difficult for private banks to gain faster market share as most anchor banks are large. See, there is a need to track the developments in banks as checkbooks, credit books may change. I told you, the customers affected by mergers. Yes, initially, of course, the anchor bank may announce that checkbooks of mutual banks will not be valid. Bank details might change to report the organizations. Interest rates might differ, particularly fixed deposits will mature and renewal rates. This actually I experienced. Say, the FD is matured. When you go for the renewal, they say, sir, the renewal rate as per the present bank, the original bank. The old bank, that bank is different, this bank is different. We have got a new rate, this we have to apply, but the rate is low. Money transfer become difficulty as IFSC and MSCR code change for some banks. And they remain the same for other banks. It is not for all banks. Some banks they change. Some banks do not change. And the problem is the customers are required to get in touch with these banks. They have to spend a lot of time in knowing what is correct, what is wrong information. Conclusion. Say, in a nutshell, we come to the last part of it. Mergers contribute to societal and economic development of India in the following ways. As you know, any subject can be discussed both pros and cons. I told you economies of scale, large scale of business operations got economies advantages as well as discussed disadvantages. Small business, you have got advantages and disadvantages. Likewise, you have got when you weigh, when you measure, when you discuss all the merit points and demerit points, you find ultimately this will result, though the result is not immediate, in the long run. As you know, in the case of stock market, don't expect money immediately you return. You just invest money 1 lakh in good company for 5 years, you'll get the result. Definitely. Like that, they say, go for long-term investment. Don't go for short-term investment. Like that. In the long run, it will result in reduction in the cost of banking operations, results in better NPA and risk management, because they burned their fingers. So they will be cautious and they will not give much higher amount to the unknown persons unless they give proper security and proper coverage. Merger helps in saving the weak banks for credibility. Definitely, the small banks also get good name because when they get merged. Enhance the capacity to increase credit line to bigger projects. Now they can go for bigger projects, genuine people. I told you genuine estimate also. Large network of banks and branches will ensure strong national presence, including global reach in all the countries. This is also possible only when you have got more number of branches. Easy to adapt and enhance next generation technology for banking. Because already banks have gone for the technology, because without technology, no bank can survive today. Technology is the driving force for all the banks. Unless the banks are able to adapt and adopt themselves to new technologies, then the competitors will definitely overtake them. So this is possible only when you have got a strong bank. It offers other banks to better their ability to raise resources from financial markets. Suppose they would like to come for the public issue, they will get definitely very good, they are able to raise resources, more subscribed many times. Strong capital centralization of the bank will indirectly increase the operational gains and reduce the cost of lending. This also it will know. If you are able to increase the operation efficiency, you will be able to reduce the cost of lending. Finally, it helps in offering enhanced customer service due to combined operational infrastructure. That is the main. When banks combine, they get increased combined operational infrastructure. That is why they are able to give better service. Though immediately, but in the long run, they are able to give the benefits to the customers. So, hello. Now I'll come to the conclusion. Now, if anybody has got any query, we can just discuss, and I'm here to answer the questions from the audience on the correct subject.
Dear participant, sir, thank you very much, sir, for your lengthy and long presentation, and spend your valuable time, sir, for contributing this AICT Atal online activity program. Dear participants and delegates, please clarify your queries.
Yes, please. Yeah, let me ask one question to the audience.
Yes, sir.
Because they have to write some assignment also before they complete. Who is the authority to accept the merger proposals? Normally in companies, the top management, they decide. The NCLT, National Company Tribunal, actually they place before the proposals. But here, Union Cabinet only approves the merger of the banks. Only the Cabinet decides the merger. Now we can ask, what is the role of RBI? RBI regulates the banking functions of banks. The 21 of RBI Act gives power for the controlling of the banks. But here, the Union Cabinet is the authority to approve the proposals made by the top banks which go for merger.
So how this NCLT is involved this post-merger banks in India? What's the role?
Pardon? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, Vijayarajan will clarify one question.
Yes, please ask it.
For economic development of post-merger banks in India, how this NCLT involved for this economic development of post-merger banks in India? What's the roles?
See, there are various factors which are controllable, which are non-controllable. The main aim or purpose of merger of banks is to provide better service, to increase productivity, to give better services to the customers, especially to reduce the NPA and ensure that hereafter the customers will not be under sufferings, in the sense that again there will not be any bank failure. When they become strong banks, they are able to meet the customers' requests, expectations, and normal banking function will go automatically. but weak banks cannot do it. So in the case of post-merger banks, when they become stronger banks, because of the increased operational infrastructure facilities, they are able to give better service. If not now, within 2 months or 3 months, after 6 months, when they get everything settled, systematized, they will be able to give better service. And they will be cautious in lending. And they'll be also cautious in expanding also. They won't expand further. In the sense that already they have got good amount of ATMs and branches. So they will try to strengthen the branches by appointing right people at the branches and try to get good performance from each branch. So in the long run, you will find after 1 year or so, you get the balance sheet, you will find definitely an increase in the profits, also in terms of efficiency, in terms of productivity in banks.
Yes, sir. Yes, participants. Any queries, any clarifications before going to end of the session?
So, before winding up, I would like to thank the coordinator, Mr. Vijayarajan, Mr. Ganeshamurthy, Dr. Monarji, Dr. Armugam, Dr. Vediraj, and all members of faculty who have been doing this great quality of work. I know the extent of time you have to spend, just like a pre-meeting, at the meeting and after the meeting, we have got duties before the getting the amount, what is actually your work, and during this 1 week, you have got a lot of work. Also after that, you have to comply with the various formalities with the AICTE, with the university. I appreciate the team efforts made by all the members of faculty, and I am happy that the department again and again will conduct many more programs, getting more credit to the department. I thank all the participants for the patient hearing, and in case you have got any more clarification, I give my email ID. You please ask questions, I'll reply at any time. My mail ID is with Professor Vijayarajan. You can give the mail ID to participants also along with the PPT. In case of any doubt, I am very happy to reply them at any point of time.
Thank you, sir. May I invite Ms. Aisha Mariam to propose vote of thanks?
Yes, sir. Most respected Professor Dr. V. Balachandran, sir. It is such an honor for me to get the opportunity to thank you, sir. I extend my gratitude to our Professor Dr. V. Balachandran, sir, to take out time from his busy schedule. Thank you for encouraging us with your words on this special day. Thank you for sharing your ideas and views on societal and economic development of post-merger in banks. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, Mr. Vijayarajan.
Yes,
Thank
Professor,
you.
you have elaborately to discuss that societal and economic developments of post-mergers in banks, especially for that various committees you have to be, the detailed presentations. I have to noting this number one, Nursing Committee 1 and Nursing Committee
Yes.
2, Joint Parliamentary Committee and recommendation of Joint Parliamentary Committee, then Verma Committee, then various parameters to identify the weak banks to recommend this group of groups and classification of public sector banks and the top 10 public sector banks with the effect of mergers and post mergers of banks and then post-merger banks, the impact of society on economic development, and notable observations by press and media, and finally towards economic development is most important, and the core competencies for whatever things you have to discuss. What is the ultimate benefit of the community? In that way, Professor Balachandran sir given a noteworthy contribution this sessions. On behalf of the department, I wholeheartedly thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All the best.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Take your lunch.
Yes, I'll go.
Because we want to start the session next Tuesday. I know
yes,
that. I know the work pressure.
Yes, sir. Thank
I
you,
know the
sir.
work pressure now because you have to conduct various programs, you have to sit and you have to arrange.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Take care of
Thank
your
you, sir.
health.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Muraji, all the best. Mr. Ganesamurthy,
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank
all
you.
the best. Thank you. Thank you.
Dear participants, after the small break for lunch, we have to assembled exactly 2:25 p.m. in the same portal. Thank you.